Skip, how have you seen churches support their youth while they are away or even in anticipation of them going away? And how have churches also opened up space for the youth to bring back what they've learned so as to learn from them and from their experience?
Yeah, that's a great question and a challenging aspiration. And I think I want to confess that as long and hard as I tried at it, I'll bet there are hundreds of churches who did a better job and have ideas that would be answers to your question that I don't have. But let me lift these possibilities up. I think if a youth group and youth ministry and adolescents in a church are going to reach their full potential, it's going to require more than simply the commitment of the youth minister, more than just the commitment of the youth staff. A place where adolescents flourish will more likely look like a place where the senior minister is totally committed to the youth ministry. The church leadership is totally committed to the youth ministry. The church staff that doesn't work with youth is totally committed to the youth ministry. The adults who have kids are totally committed to the youth ministry. The adults who do not have kids in the program are totally committed to the youth ministry. Cultivating that sense of universal support and passion and rejoicing in the experiences of the youth requires encounter. It requires opportunities for the youth leadership to be commissioned by the whole congregation, for the youth leaders to be commissioned by the congregation, for the youth leading on the trip to be commissioned on the congregation and tasked, you're going on our behalf and with our love and support, for the church budget to be invoked to support the youth on their mission trip, to be sent off so what are some concrete ways? In my church, we did all those commissionings in the congregation, so the church was looking forward and anticipating to the trip and knew it was going on all year long. In addition to that, we had a mission sponsor program where for any nominal amount of money or more, a church adult could be a sponsor of the trip. But what the kids would do on the trip is 2 nights on the trip, they would write reflections of what they were experiencing personally to a sponsor. You know, the adults loved getting those trips. It made them have a sense they were present with the kids. The kids who might have rather just been hanging out than writing the letters understand their bond with the congregation that's making this all possible, which is equally important. Then there was maybe a lot of people would have a critique of this, so I'm making myself a little vulnerable. Everybody takes pictures on a mission trip or a retreat, etc. But you can now post pictures to a Facebook page. So we would rather assiduously take appropriately bounded, non-privacy invading, and with permission of kids pictures that would then post to the church Facebook page. Now the adults could follow the mission trip all week, and what you found them doing was parents almost inevitably forwarded pictures of the kids. Look what my kid is doing, to all the cousins and relatives. But it created this communal consciousness about what was happening during the week. And then the adults in our church did a lovely thing. They began a tradition. You know, of course, adults have to come pick their kids up after a retreat, or they got to come pick their kids up after a mission trip. But the adults would create this welcome. They actually created send-off and a welcome. So the parents of the youth group would have a send-off dinner, which was all tricked out with the culture of wherever the kids were going. And then they'd be on the street when the buses pulled up and they came home with welcome home banners and clanging drums and celebration. So the kids come home into this welcome that they are significant, their trip is significant, they're loved and they were missed. Obviously, we want youth to be integrated into as much worship as possible, for them to own as much worship as possible, for them to lead as much worship as possible. But at a minimum, most churches will create space for a youth Sunday after a mission trip where the youth lead worship, the youth lead the music, the youth do the sharing and testifying. That, I would say, for about a third of our adults in a rather large church, it was their favorite worship service of the year, because they saw these young people alive with the power of that spiritual liminal experience and testifying to their encounters with the risen Christ and their faith in ways that made every parent say, you know, this torch is going to pass to another generation, which is a fundamental generative impulse for an adult. And then we'd have a mission sponsor brunch where the kids would cook and serve all the folks who'd been mission sponsors, and then have
great.
name tags so that throughout the lunch they would answer questions.
Yeah.
I think that's a rather impoverished list of possibilities, and I think there are a lot of folks out there who probably have more, but I wish they'd send them in, and we should cultivate
Yeah.
and crowdsource some answers to your question.
Yeah, yeah.